Hey, I want to talk geometry proofs with you just for a minute. I think the average person kind of struggles with geometric proofs. It's hard to think in a logical manner to prove something. But no matter what kind of proof you're dealing with in geometry, always look carefully at the problem. In the first few blanks, usually what you're wanting to put down is the things that have been given to you, what's been given. And when you have a two-column proof where you have statements and reasons, those first statements are probably, the reasons for those are probably going to be that they are given. So always look at the statement and look at the given portion and see if the author of the problem has already given that to you, so the reason would be given. Another thing is that usually the last blank is going to be what it is that you're trying to prove. And so I would say this: as you're working through a proof, do a couple things. One is constantly be looking at, what am I trying to prove? What is it that I'm trying to prove? And then, of course, all along, before you even do, or before you're even involved in doing proofs, you've been given some different theorems and some different postulates and some different corollaries. In order to prove anything, you're really going to need to know those well. So you can pull those out of your back pocket to use as a reason if you don't know them very well. If you're having to look in the book and that sort of thing, it's going to be really hard to come up with those reasons. It would be, I mean, the same thing is true if you're in an argument with somebody and you're trying to prove your point of view. If the things that you believe are things that you have to look up, you're not going to be very convincing. You're going to have a hard time convincing anybody or proving anything. You've got to have a good command of your topic. And so there's just no substitute for, you know, taking pictures of those theorems and those postulates and those corollaries and reviewing them on your phone as you're, kind of like, it kind of serves as 3x5 index cards. That's what I encourage students to do, is to take their phone and take pictures of their book of those things and just constantly be reviewing them, 2 or 3 times a day. Man, if you do that, you're gonna have lots of ability to prove things. But to constantly look at, where am I going with this? What is it that I'm trying to prove? And here's the other thing. The reason for each step in a proof is, how did they go from this statement to the next statement? What is the reason? What is the justification for that? So if they've said these things are congruent and now they're saying that they're equal, which theorem or postulate or corollary makes that possible? In other words, for what reason is that true? So think about it that way. How did they go from from step 2 to step 3, and then what's the reason for that? And how did they go from 3 to 4? What's the reason for that? And I'm talking, of course, about proofs where some of the statements or some of the reasons are given to you. It's a little bit harder when it's just completely blank and you have to come up with all those things yourself. But still, you can do that if you understand and really study proofs. So I would encourage you to take proofs that your teacher has worked, take proofs that are in your book, and review them and try to do them from scratch without looking back. This is just a great technique. So take a proof and write it on a piece of paper, on a piece of scrap paper, and try to do it from start to finish all by yourself. And when you get stuck, look at the book, look at your notes, and kind of come back on track. And do this repetitively until you can do it from start to finish without looking back at your notes or without looking back at your book. It's just hard work. So anything that's relatively difficult is going to take some sweat. It's going to take what they used to call elbow grease. So I would say really work at it. And so motivate yourself to work on any weak area that you might have. And so hopefully this will help a little bit. Geometric proofs are always a little bit tough for those reasons, but if you apply some of these techniques that I've talked about, I think it'll help. See you later.